We're here, we're queer, and we will continue to change the world. Welcome to Queer Changemakers. I'm your host, Justin Mezikin, pronouns he, him, and each episode will share stories of LGBTQ plus individuals who are taking action to make a difference in our communities and beyond.
Today, our guest is Magda Stegda.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm super excited for our conversation. And yeah, let's do it, Justin.
Awesome. So, would you like to start with a short introduction of who you are and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. To be honest, I don't like the question where I'm coming from. So probably after hearing my accent, you would guess I'm not from the US. My name is Magda. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm a woman who transitioned or a woman with experience of being transgender, life experience as a trans person. This is my identity. And what I'm doing is I'm encouraging businesses to build a trans inclusive workplaces. What that means in practice, it's like I've been HR leader for 10 years and then I transitioned, made to female path. And right now, since like 2 years, I'm encouraging businesses to build a trans inclusive workplaces.
I appreciate the way you describe this. So, you mentioned that you're also in HR. How did you get into HR, and then how did you decide to pivot?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Justin. So I studied psychology a few years ago, and I wasn't sure what I would like to do. And I always wanted to work with people, and everything happened in Warsaw, in Poland. So I started unpaid internship in a big recruitment company called Randstad. But to be honest, that experience gave me a lot of knowledge. It was, as I said, unpaid, but I really enjoy it. I just started as an intern, and then I've been a recruiter, and then HR leader, and then I've came with idea of helping trans individuals after my transition or during my transition because also, I realized I'm from Poland, or I prefer to say I was born in Poland, but my nationality is Polish. And yeah, I knew how hard sometimes it's to be yourself. And that gave me a power to help other individuals and also encourage companies to take concrete actions.
Okay, that's awesome. I appreciate that, especially with your background. You're able to take what you've learned and then take your own experience and put them together to do something new. What are a few ways workplaces can be more inclusive? And then the other question is, how might that look? Like, what are some of the benefits of that more inclusive work?
So I think I would start with the first question because, yeah, I'm often asked like why we should, allocate our time, our energies when we talk about leaders. So people are very busy, I would say, even straightforward, they are overwhelmed. And then we are inviting them to build an inclusive workplace. I would give them the numbers, and this is what I really like. I really like the data from the US when we talk about transgender inclusion. I'm always giving that the travel project, and according to the travel project, nearly 50% of youth people who identify as LGBTQ plus identify as a transgender or non-binary. And also, the data from McKinsey is saying that comparing cisgender people to transgender people are twice likely be unemployed. And those data is showing that if companies would like to build an inclusive workplace, and especially if they want to attract transgender individuals, they need to take concrete actions. And also, it was a first question about what companies can do, if I understood it correctly. Firstly, it's very important, as I said, about leaders to allocate a budget, because often still people are thinking that volunteering by people who are from the LGBT plus community is enough, but it's not. Of course, it's better than something, but the companies who are doing a lot. So I can give concrete example. For example, in the
Mhm.
US, it's Indeed and also JP Morgan. They are allocating a lot of dollars to help people, because probably you also are aware of a situation, probably better than me, that then in some states, it's not great to be transgender, and Indeed offered people relocate from to states
Hmm.
where they can have access to, for example, affirmation surgery. And if I remember correctly, Indeed offered like $10,000 for the employees who are interested to take that opportunity and relocate and go through also affirmation surgery. This is one thing. And another thing about JP Morgan, what I like is there is a committee dedicated for issues of transgender and non-binary people. So coming back what I said about volunteering, this is contrary. So JP Morgan, of course, it's a big firm, but they are having three people who are like each day thinking how they can improve life and work of transgender and non-binary people. So this is also connected with benefits. This is connected how to communicate and support people who are going through transition across the company. So I think this is amazing. This is a lot. And this is also the great example how other companies, how other people can be inspired. And yeah, I can talk about it a lot. So I will stop here if you have any specific questions.
I appreciate that. And the two specific examples. Yeah, like you said, certain states in the US are, how do I say it best? I think are proactively trying to be mean and uncaring. So it's interesting to hear about companies that'll help you leave those unsafe spaces to live a more thriving life. So let's take it a step further, right? So let's say there's a company, standard company,
Yeah.
and then they're doing their standard business, however they do it. And then they invite you there to
Mm.
help them become more trans inclusive, right? And they are able to experience the data you share, the knowledge you give, the training you provide. What's a like best case scenario 6, 12 months down the road after they've gone through and they actually put into practice what you say? What could that look like for that company a year later?
Firstly, it's about, and also I feel like it's very important to have a bigger perspective, because sometimes companies are saying, you know what, we do not have a transgender person. It is a common answer, for example, invitation on LinkedIn. So what I'm saying is, right, but you have parents, so they might have a transgender or non-conforming child, right? At some point. You have also neighbors. You have colleagues at your organization. Understanding and be able to help and to give a support, it's a lot. And as you asked, Justin, after 6 or 12 months, the company can change from the company without having any open transgender person to attract, and in some scenarios it could be a leader of in their industry, to attracting people from marginalized group, because let's say straightforward, we are marginalized, right? And also
Mm-hmm.
we are very very diverse as a transgender individuals. Of course it required time, I would say money, because what I'm doing, it's not NGO. I'm providing a service and I want to be paid for it according to my competencies. And it's very important because what I realized and what I have insights from the conversation from our community, queer community, I feel like often we are having those doubts if our work is enough good, if we should be paid, if we are not expecting too much. And this is very sad because often we are very qualified and we have those skills. So it's also good to have reminder that we should support each other internally as a community, and that invitation for that podcast, for that conversation, this is something what I feel it's a support from the community. So I'm sending a warm thank you to Stefan that behalf of him we are having that conversation. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. So for listeners, I did interview Stefan a few episodes ago, and I actually met Magna. I'm part of Stefan's group in Titanology, and I met Magna there at one of our
Yeah.
weekly group meetings. I'm glad for this because it helps connect more people and hear more stories and voices. One of the things I love about Titanology is it is international, and I get to hear more about what's happening around the world and not just
Yeah.
here in the US. So I want to go back to a couple of things you said. In terms of an organization, some of the benefits they get is a bigger perspective and deeper understanding. I appreciate that a lot because sometimes when I have conversations like this and I have conversations with other people who identify under the LGBTQIA plus umbrella, I get to broaden my own perspective. I could hear the same words, but said in a different way. And that makes me a more rounded person. Or I love stories. And it helps me understand a little more about other stories. I could see that objection you were getting from people. We don't have any trans employees we don't need this training. But also when you talk about the youth and companies wanting to grow, having the training before someone shows up
Yeah.
is probably better because, if they don't have the training and they're interviewing someone,
Yeah.
right? They might not have a good experience. Even
Yeah,
know.
and also thank you. You remind me one also another argument, like it's connected what I said. Like those people who are youth, we are also youth, but they are a bit, younger than I don't know your age, but yeah, I'm after 30 in the middle. So uh,
Same.
but what I'm trying to say, those people are from Generation Z, and also they have clear, it's another report from Deloitte, like 80% of people from Generation Z, they have clear expectation that they will work in a environment which is inclusive. So if you not provide as an employer, they will not come to you. So this is a very clear statement from the and those expectations are connected with real actions, as I said, like concrete actions. So they would like to see concrete actions and not only for July.
Yeah, gives me hope for the future, especially with things like AI and like what even will the future be. There are technologies that can change how we do things,
Yeah,
but inclusion is a person thing. It takes people to create an inclusive space. Like you can't really
yeah,
rely on technology. Technology can only go so far. When you think about the people you want to serve, who might be the best fit person? For like
yeah.
this is a company that I can really help support best. You can probably support many, but who might be the best
Yeah,
fit?
thank you for that question. And also, yesterday conversation gave me perspective. I had a reflection that I want to work with companies who want to do some things even they don't have transgender people or they don't know about it, but they want to allocate resources for preparation for it. And also, I would like to work with leaders who identify as a LGBTQ plus individuals because I truly believe we still need to empower each other And of course, that not means like if you are straight, if you are ally, do not talk to me. No, of course, you are more than welcome. But I see how people from marginalized groups are still not proud or not vocal. So I really want to help them to be promoted, to do amazing things because I'm very happy and I'm very glad that I've met a lot of people who helped me to be where I am, who sometimes believed before I believed in my value, that I can do business for a bigger scale. And one of the person it's also Stefan, like he believed on the beginning and yeah, he's also supporting me. So I truly believe that support it's amazing because sometimes it just reshare someone's story. Sometimes it's put people to touch and it's 3 minutes of work. Of course, we are overwhelmed, but I promised myself like a few weeks ago that I will do more right now for others than for me because I know also it's good to find a balance, but so many people help me to be where I am and yeah, I want to also help others.
We are a community, both LGBTQ and just human beings, and things
Mm.
like support. We all need. I don't think anyone is perfect or does everything perfectly, and having people around to be along that journey with you is very important. So you mentioned it earlier, and you just mentioned it again when you were talking about your unpaid internship and learning HR at a company. You mentioned mentorship, and
Mm.
it felt like there was a person who, or a couple people who might have been helpful mentors for you on your journey. Do you want to
Yeah.
share anything about? It could be those people, or like something, things they said, or how an experience that helped you grow.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I would love to tell you more about it. So before I transitioned, I lived in London, and London it's very important for my story because there I've met a first role model for me of being a transgender. Her name is Sophie, and she was around 50 years old. So, as a person from Poland, from very Catholic family and the worst conservative part of Poland, I've met her during the sex party. And it was like a quite comic situation for me because I'm attracted to guys and she stand in front of me and she said like, you are one of us. You are my girl. And I was like, what's going on here, right?
Hmm.
But I'm very grateful to her that she stand up and she said it to me because after I reflect who I am. Of course, it was like I was a cross-dresser before for 8 years, but that conversation was like very, very important for where I am right now. I will come back to the question about mentors, but I felt like it will be also good to share that story about role model. And when we talk about that story, what I'm trying to say, I will also encourage listeners to be open. Because if I will not be open, I will say, like, go away, I'm looking for someone else, right? Do not talk to me. But I've listened what she said. Even I was confused what's going on here. But according to openness, I've listened to her. Of course, I needed time, but I'm very grateful to her, what she did. Also, I think I've shared that story to give you inspiration that the people that you can meet during your journey, it's your responsibility if you will implement those advice tips. I don't know if it was advice, but she was like very clear that she thought I'm a trans person, right? Before I was
Yeah.
thinking about it. But coming back to the mentors, I would like to tell you about at least one person. You know already that I'm working with Stefan. from technology, and also I think right now business accelerator, it's the thing that he's doing. But my first and very important business mentor before Stefan, her name is Kasia, and she is also from Poland, but she's living in Berlin like me. And she is a design thinking facilitator, coach. And we've met when I was living in London. She was organizing a course for HR people about design thinking in HR. And what I really like and what resonates with me about Kasia, she showed how to use empathy during the work with clients. This is about listening about needs of the clients, because I think sometimes people want to firstly tell what we have. And also I did that mistake. So I've learned after working with Kasia that it's better to give a space and listen what people, what their needs are, what they are challenges. Yeah. So open questions, right? And when we talk about cooperation with Kasia, it's been 2 years of my life, and I've learned that sometimes we need time to work with someone, because on the beginning I really pushed Kasia to work with me, and she said, no, it's not a right moment. And I remember I asked like many times, and I can imagine it was very annoying to her. But then I trusted her, fully trusted, like each session. And it was 2 years. And this is also the results where I am. So we had 2 years session at some period each week. So it was a lot of
Oh,
work.
wow.
And I had a lot of ideas, but I'm coming back to those sessions because they are recorded for my internal using. And I see a progress because I had a lot of ideas. I still have a lot of ideas. For example, doing mentoring program for LGBT plus individuals. But we came with Kasia with the products that I'm doing right now. I can shortly say it's a session Ask Me Anything, how to be a trans inclusive workplace, and also diversity, equity, inclusion workshop, how leaders and HR professionals can be more inclusive. And the third thing, it's about inclusive language. So how to communicate, how to include people from underrepresented groups. So there are three things, main things, what I'm doing with corporates.
Okay. I love that because I do think in both stories you shared, there's a lot that we can learn from others. And when others are able to give us the time and some space to have those conversations, to maybe see who we are, even if we can't see it, I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
For the podcast, I like to focus on both what people are doing out in the world, but then also who people are in the world. So I'd like to hear a little more about your journey. You mentioned that Sophie saw who you were before you saw who you were. Would you like to share a little bit about how you came into yourself and a little bit about that journey?
Of course. Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share it. I would start 12 years ago. So it was 2011. Yeah. And for the majority of my life, I thought about myself as a gay person because I was born as a person with a penis and I was attracted to guys, but it never worked. I didn't reflect, to be honest, a lot about it, but it didn't work. I remember it was 2011 and I was living in Warsaw. It's the capital of Poland. I was living with my ex best friend, and
Hmm.
her name is also Kasia. So this is
Oh,
funny. Like two Kasias were very important when we talk about my life. Kasia borrowed me her bra, and
hmm.
uh, we came with the idea that I will put a bra. And I remember I registered on one, I wouldn't call it dating app. It was like a website for hookups. And to give a context, it was Poland, and I remember, oh my God. And then she's makeup artist, so she did makeup on me,
Uh-huh.
and we put those pictures, and I received a lot of likes, a lot of messages like, "You're gorgeous, you are fucking sexy." Of
Mhm.
course, they were like words like, "I want to fuck you now." But it gave me a joy. It gave me, yeah, I felt so attractive, right?
Mhm.
And that registration of that website, started a period of my life of being a cross-dresser. It was 8 years of my life. And to clarify what means exactly to be a cross-dresser for me, in my case, it was wearing woman clothes to have sex with the guys. And also, I would give clear statement that this is my journey, this is my personal experience, and it helps me go through then meeting with Sophie and then reflection that I could be a
Mhm.
trans person. So I'm not saying like being a cross-dresser, it's only the path to be a transgender, or it's also connected. So I will not confirm it, but I'm sharing my experience and how it was in my case. So being a cross-dresser gave me the possibility to explore my femininity side. And also, I will admit, a lot of meetings that I said, it was a risky situations. And this is also,
Mhm.
I'm sharing again and reminding to people who are listening that I was putting, not intentionally, myself to a lot of risk situations. I was meeting the people that I've never know, and I was inviting them to my apartment.
Yeah, and both aspects of what you said, because it speaks to some deeper themes. So one, we all have our own journeys. So just because a journey started in one place and ended for there doesn't mean everyone needs to go through that same journey, and that's the only way it can happen. So I love how you say that. And then also that is a that is a theme that I think happens, especially with some of the trans and non-binary communities, because society may not be as ahead or inclusive. In order to learn, there may not be the safest of spaces to learn. So you have to like do that risk.
Yeah.
And one of the lessons that I take from people,
Mhm.
especially as you're saying this now, is
Yeah.
life itself is risk. And
Yeah.
sometimes we all have to put ourselves in complicated situations, leaving a job, leaving a relationship, leaving the place we were born.
Yeah.
And there's risk around with that.
Oh.
But in theory, if we're able to take that risk to be who we are meant to be, and it can pay itself back, I think that's a beautiful part of the journey. And definitely when I think about some of the change in the world, it's how can we make how can we lower that risk for different people so it's not as life risky, but there's still that internal you have to make a choice and decision.
I feel like I don't like speak behalf of the whole community, but I feel like right now I would like to give one more sentence if I could.
Yes.
As I said, we as transgender individuals are very diverse, and I'm really sad, and this is very horrible how some people are treating transgender, as especially women who are sex workers. And I feel like really we as a trans community, and as you said, like as a human being, really need to have more support and do not be objectified. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it happened a lot to me, to be honest. And I feel like I have a privilege to share my story, and also I'm always trying to share that people who are doing sex work should be treated well, should have, in my opinion, additional support. And I know in some countries it's like more progressive, like in Norway, there is a lot of people, there is a lot of institutions who are giving that support. But unfortunately, across the globe, like for example, South America, like Eastern Europe countries, like Poland, Hungary, Romania, they are horrible. They are horrible, and I'm not a person to tell people what is right or what is not, but I've been recently in London, and also I have reflection after going there to the places dedicated for trans women, that also we as a community sometimes believe that it's okay to saying us who we are or what we can expect. It's sad because somehow we are having some elements of transphobia. Yeah,
Yeah.
those kind of things. But what I'm saying about it, those, things are not helping us grow as a people, but those things are draining our energy. And what is the worst, they are, those thoughts from the people who are not, they shouldn't say us who we are, how we should behave. They feel right to do it and they are doing it. And what is the point? Some of us, after having contact with those people, are believe. So this is also another argument why I believe as a community we need to empower each other. So when I was in clubs in London and when I heard those stories of those ladies, I was sad because they do not see that there is another part. And I feel like we as entrepreneurs should invite those people to be with us and give them the same opportunities because they do not have the same opportunities, right? And of course, I'm not saying like what they are doing it's bad or no, opposite. I'm saying to each people, sex work, it's work, and those ladies who I know, because mostly I know ladies, they are super entrepreneurial and they have to, keep clients. They need to attract new clients. So I think we as a community should think together how might we support each other and give that support because sometimes it's one thing. Sometimes it's 5 minutes of the conversation, but it's such needed.
Yeah. And as you were saying that, it took me back to what your mentor said about empathy and listening to the needs of people in that life who
Yeah,
are there to say,
yeah,
I try to believe the statement, like people are doing the best they can. And if people said, I have a better way to live, I have a better way to make money, I have a better way to support myself, they probably would. People would. But people may not be able to see that opportunity for themselves. So I do think looking at the empathy of how we can listen to people in different situations and think about, all right,
yeah,
what might support look like? What would support you? And then actually possibly helping to make that real.
yeah,
So we were talking about your story and then we got a little off track and I just wanted to tie that part up a little bit. You said that your housemate lets you borrow her bra, and then that
yeah,
helped you see a different aspect of yourself. And then you were on a journey of cross dressing for 8 years, and then you may have met Sophie, who saw that you were a woman, and you did not see that for yourself at the time. What helped you go from Sophie's words in you and like can you share a little more about that next step of your journey from there to where you are now?
yeah, yeah. So, it was time of COVID, so it was reflection and like funny fact is, you know, I think that the power came from mask. So when we
Oh,
had like a COVID, I could cover my face and I could go through the transition. You know,
oh
it
wow.
was a lot because it was like the hardest part, like 1 year and 1 year and a half when I was changing, and it was like very hard time sometimes for people. And this is the part of the story, but like another part is my mother, and this is also I'm very grateful to her, but I should admit is still hard for her because she's like very Catholic and she is not fully convinced that it's a good decision. So still after I transitioned, we have a conversation that she's not misgendering me, but sometimes she is saying some things probably not intentionally, but that things are, giving me a reflection if she, believe that I'm a woman, which is not nice feeling, right? I'm not blaming her, but I'm hearing it. I'm conscious person and it's not nice feeling, but I know she's doing the best. She's like 30 years older than me, so she was born in different world. But probably it's a good reminder that if we have parents who has transgender children, they have better tools that I mean, like my mother has also the same tools, but the thing is with my mother, I offered her like sometimes conversation with psychotherapist, but she doesn't want. So she
Mhm.
is not giving her herself, opportunity to go to use those tools or to listen. And you know what I can ask in the future, but from experience, she doesn't want to talk. She doesn't want to go, for example, for the group of other transparents. So but for sure, and this is sometimes confusing people. Yeah, I'm from Central Eastern Europe, and I said during one of my speech that I'm privileged, and people were shocked. Yeah, I'm privileged because also my mother gave me and support me with the money to go through all transition that I would like to
Wow.
go because they are not, and this is amazing from her, even as I said, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, like sex affirmation surgery, it wasn't covered by insurance. It's not covered in Poland at all. So I decided to have it in Serbia. Yeah, Serbia is like Balkans country, far away from here, also in Europe, but yeah, I think it might be the biggest center for those surgeries when we see like, for example, in Asia, Thailand. So I would say in Europe, when we talk affirmation surgery for females transgender, it could be Serbia.
Cool. Part of me is processing your experience because I think that is amazing of your mom,
Yeah,
right? To not
yeah,
even fully agree or understand or believe, but
yeah,
still
yeah,
say, I will help you get this done.
yeah,
That's I'm glad there are moms like that out there.
yeah,
Not perfect, not perfect. I assume she's probably not perfect, but that is beautiful and that shows
yeah,
what love can be. Because one of the things that you said, like your mom wasn't convinced that this was good or maybe safe for you in some ways. And one of the concerns that I hear from people who talk about parents who don't understand them
yeah,
is the parent is like, it's going to be hard for you in life. They can see that society isn't inclusive or warm. They can see that there are places where you may be put at more risk because other people won't agree with you and they might turn or resort to violence.
yeah,
And I think that speaks for some of the change that we need in society
yeah.
because there are people who are like, if you're LGBTQ, you're going to have a hard life. And when
Mm,
someone says that to me, what I hear is, you see the
Yeah.
differences and challenges that LGBTQ plus people face,
Yeah.
and you know that it's true. You know that it's there. And so I feel like just that awareness, they may
Yeah.
not realize that they can do something about it or that they should do something about it, but it's good to
Mm.
know that there might be a conversation point there to help make some of that change. Because even when you talk about your work with the trans inclusive workplaces, if people can see that trans people have a different experience, then they
Mm.
can say, maybe we can do something, right? Maybe there's an extra reason for us to go through this training so that we can show up better and create a better.
Yeah.
And I also love how you mentioned about COVID and masks being
Yeah.
a blessing in disguise. You're able to go through the recovery process.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there was a gift there in COVID, even though it was a hard time
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
many of us.
And actually, you are the first person that I said about it. Like, I thought about it for ages, but somehow
Mhm.
it never came up during any conversation. So I'm glad, yeah, I've shared like, and yeah, it was very, very important for me. Mm, yeah, I can
That's
say yeah, I'm glad to COVID.
yeah. Like there are a couple lessons that
Yeah,
I think are true, and I'm learning to believe them.
yeah,
And like one of them is everyone is doing the best they can. That's
yeah,
really hard sometimes when there are people who are being mean and just
yeah,
rude and just like I don't think they. It's a hard lesson to actually
yeah,
process. And
yeah,
then the other one is everything can be for your good. So even the bad experiences, there
yeah,
is something to take from them. Hard to say. Hard to say. Harder when you're going through
yeah,
something, like when you lose a friend or a loved one. And,
yeah,
I don't want someone to say this is good for you. But eventually I do think that we can. But
yeah,
hopefully. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to go to one of my fun questions because everyone can answer it. Your life right now, you are been in many different parts of Europe, and I think you're in Berlin right now.
yeah.
So when you think about our LGBTQ plus community as a whole, what is one vision that you have for a next step, an improvement? So if there's
Mm,
one problem we have that you'd love to fix or something you'd like to see,
mm,
and it can be in any direction.
yeah. Yeah, I think like it will be great to see one day that we all are using pronouns. So I really have wish that people will start a conversation with saying, for example, hi, my name is Magda and my pronouns are she, her. And then, if you will have a person who is going through transition or a person who is non-conforming, non-binary, you will create a safe space for them. And by saying it and starting from your perspective, it's not costing you a lot, but it's creating a safe space for the person. And I can tell from my experience that I had a lot of situations when people didn't listen to me, where people really, you know, I felt horrible. I cried. I felt like I will not survive. So, if you will find a person who is going through that hard time, which is transition, and you will do that small acts, it's a lot. So, I see a lot of people are advocating, are putting on LinkedIn or Instagram on, signature the pronouns, but still in some communities, people are afraid to start a conversation that, you know, if will they start a conversation and saying, my name is Magda and my pronouns are she, her, people will think that I'm transgender. I mean, it's about
Mm,
normalizing that topic. So I really encourage people to start that conversation and normalize it. If you, of course, feel that you are ready for it, and if you understand after what I said that it's such important, because also I will give you an example during my path when I had Adam's apple removal. Like the doctor who did it misgendered
mm.
me
Yeah,
a
I'll
lot.
tell you.
And he said that he will opening a clinic for transgender people. And I was shocked, after it. And I came to the reception and I said, like, what's going on? That person, like, permanently is doing it. And of course, people in the reception apologized me. And I said to them, like, you know what? I know who I am. But so many people are lost. So many people do not have support. And I can only imagine how hard it's again about empathy, right? How hard it could be for them. I didn't have facial feminization surgery. I had one consultation and people said to me that I don't need it. But I saw like in New York, like a few days ago, like person who's having a clinic for facial feminization, and I saw he proudly using pronouns he, him. And I thought, yeah, it's possible that in other part of Europe, people are understand how important it is, and the person who is leading a clinic or is major surgeon for clinic and having transgender female as a majority of his clients is proudly advocating and showing how to communicate inclusively.
Mm, yeah, that is a hard one sometimes where people in our community still have more to grow, still have more to learn and put into practice, especially if the more exposure you have. I like the vision that you said. Um, Having people, because that's so simple, right? Sometimes I think, what's the vision for the improvement? And when I asked Stefan, he said, eradicate LGBTQ plus business failure, which may be a lot bigger than when people introduce themselves, they add their pronouns to it.
Yeah,
And I think that is interesting that people say, if I say my pronouns, someone will think I'm transgender.
yeah, yeah,
Because, but I like it because that adds to the conversation.
yeah,
Because in a way, what that makes me think is, so if someone thinks you're transgender, what do you think is going to happen next? Right? And I think that can speak to some of the problems in society. Again, where it's, if someone thinks I'm transgender, then someone's going to think these negative things about. It's like, okay, cool, perfect. That's where you are. How do we change that in society? How do we think that if someone thinks you're transgender, you won't take that as an offense or something? That's what they're saying. It's like if someone thinks I'm from a different country, then they're gonna treat me different. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe we should figure out how to stop these
yeah.
differences.
Yeah, Justin, I don't know your plan, but I feel like we've touched a lot of topics, but which is great,
Yeah.
and I don't want to tell you when we should finish, but I was thinking if you will give me a space to share my two dreams with audience.
Yeah, for sure. This is yours. I am ready.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've talked about it a bit, like my one dream is to. And I really hope, to be honest, that all of them will be possible in 2020, sorry, in 2024.
Hmm.
One is to visit New York. I never been to the States. Yeah, and also I'm saying it because if we have a lot of people who are listening from the US and they will see opportunity to, invite me to any work at their company, any panel. So I'm happy to come to any conference also. This is one thing. And another thing is about being in a relationship. So this is my goal, and I really want to one day meet someone who will appreciate who I am as a person, how beautiful I am without, having expectations about the size of my boobs, because often I've heard like those expectations.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think, yeah, this is my dream. And yeah, thanks for the opportunity to share, because I believe when we will say it loud, it's also another value for us to hear it again. So thanks
Mhm.
for that opportunity.
Awesome. And I don't say wish you the best. I believe that that can happen.
Yeah.
Being in a relationship and visiting New York,
Mm,
right? And it's 2023 now. So as we
yeah.
look into some future and some planning, you might find a way to say, okay, if I go
Yeah.
at this time, tickets will be this much, and you can be like, all right, I just need to get to this number and I can make it
Yeah.
happen. So I support both of those dreams of yours. Hmm. Well, you went there, so I might as well. So when you think about being in a relationship, what is a quality that you look for in someone else?
Um, what do you mean by quality in that context?
So like something about them, maybe someone who's
Mm,
funny or into music or
mm,
into like I don't know, like sci-fi and Star Wars. I don't, so trying to think of something that anyone could be, but that is attractive or appealing or interesting to you.
yeah. To be honest, I feel like I would like to be with male presenting person, because I'm attracted to the people who are male presenting. And for me, like, important is to somehow have that the person will have entrepreneurial mindset, because I'm entrepreneur and I know that I would like to, grow as an entrepreneur. I have a lot of ideas. Soon I'm starting to work with two creators, and they
Hmm.
are a couple, and yeah, I want to learn from there a lot. Mm, so I think it would be easier for me to, to find common topics to talk about, growing a business. Also, I feel like Berlin, it's on the one hand great city because people are more conscious, but on the other hand, like majority of people are looking for a non-monogamous relationship. And yeah, so I don't know exactly if I would say I'm open for both, like monogamous and non-monogamous, but very important for me disclaimer that like ethical non-monogamous relationship
Hmm.
where the communication is key, because from my experience and the guys that I've met so far, often, and this is also the part of my story, that the guys were in relationships but the woman didn't know about, having
Hmm.
sex with other people, right? And this is the scenario that I don't want to go through again. And
Hmm.
I would like to have people around me who will be, ready to say openly, yeah, I've meeting Magda, or I'm with Magda and she transitioned, and I will support her, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, this is also another my idea about creating a speed dating for a woman who transitioned, or a woman who identify as a transgender, to give them safe space for dating, because my experience with dating apps, this is, I would say, not good in very unpolitical way. saying not straightforward because those dating apps, they are not inclusive, or people who are there, they are not inclusive.
Okay. While we're there, so let's say you have a magic wand. So you just wish it and it comes true, right? Whatever it is. What are a couple ways these dating apps can be safer or more inclusive for trans,
Yeah,
or at
I
least for
think
your experience? So whatever your experience is,
yeah.
what would make it safer for you? We don't have to solve that.
Mm, I really like the idea behind of OkCupid because on OkCupid, if you answer more questions, the matches are more better. You have better matches, so people who have the same values, and I like the idea behind that. But in general, I have feeling like from all dating apps that people are, this is also according to me, so people, they don't know what they are looking for, and people are overwhelmed. And also the question like is, if you want to be in a relationship, do you really need to look for people? Because also I truly believe you can meet someone when you will be ready in a situation that you will not be prepared, that it will be your off. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not sure if I'm ready for relationship in the meaning of my internal processes. And of course, like I know it's never the perfect time, but I know that everything what I experience is quite new for me because I started my transition in May 2021 and I finished in January 2023. So it was very fast and this is very new for me, right? But
Mhm.
I would say, like, in a context of meeting someone in a person, you can observe more, you can see more, you can experience more with the person. But when we talk about dating apps, mostly it's about swiping and you are judging people by their look and you don't know a lot about them. So I again deleted all dating apps and my strategy will be meeting people in person. But this is the thing why I would like to create a speed dating, because I would like to create safe space, because often I've been in a situation where someone was attracted to me and then when I shared, it's like common scenario, and then when I shared the fact that I transitioned, someone was saying, so sorry, you're so beautiful, but it's not for me. But the person never try. And I can understand that fear because sometimes it's better that someone will not um, go through that, because from my experience, it's like if someone is not experienced, it didn't work.
Mhm.
Of course, yeah, we have some examples, and I'm also happy more and more creators mm, showing, like Nikki. She's from the Netherlands, but she transitioned when she was very young. She is showing a story of her love with her, I think it's fiance right now, and this is giving a hope that it's possible, because also it's something that we touch a bit about internalization, that if you don't experience a love as a person who transitioned, it's hard to believe it's possible. So if you will ask me, Justin, do you believe in love? I would say yes. But if you will ask me, have you ever been in a relationship? No, I haven't been. So yeah, it's somehow hard for me to think how it could be.
Thank you for sharing that and the different aspects of your own journey. And I'm not suggesting that you should, but it sounds like you really want to make a speed dating for trans women event happen in Berlin soon. I don't know if they do what's it called, Valentine's Day over there in
Mm.
February, but you've got a little more than 2 months.
Yeah.
Maybe you have time
Yeah.
to reach out to different people to see if they'd be interested in doing something before that or on that day.
Yeah.
But it sounds like when you talk about it and you're excited to do it, and sometimes it's fun to do things that are exciting because I think at the end of the day, that's what community can be. So like earlier when you talked about your mentors and how
Mm.
they helped you see different ways to approach life and helped you see different
Yeah.
things within yourself and different
Yeah.
examples of how you can be. I think that can be really helpful for
Yeah.
defeating those internalized, it could be homophobia or transphobia, but just
Yeah.
that internalized beliefs that we all have. Like even earlier you mentioned you're not an NGO
Yeah.
and you have your own bills to pay, but
Yeah.
wondering, is it worth it for me? Right? Like should people pay me to come and help them out? Or should I
Yeah.
just do this for free? And the examples that we see and the communities that we're a part of can help us
Yeah.
grow to go to that next step.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's a very beautiful dream of being like, okay, I know what it's like to date, and I can see the parts that are unsafe or more risky. What can I do to help make it easier for others? That would be It'd be interesting if that idea made any sense to you and if it inspired you in any way.
Yeah.
One, it's your idea. You said it first, but it would be interesting to see what might happen with that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Wow. Whew.
Yeah.
But okay, so I have some rapid fire questions. For the first rapid fire question, what is something that inspires you and why?
What is okay? I'm inspired by people's stories and the fact they are brave to share it with others. And oh my God, this is very hard word to pronounce. Vulnerability. Before,
Vulnerability. Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
Mm. So I never, for example, showed on my Instagram when I'm crying, but I would love to because I feel, yeah, it's great to talk about emotions, but because still it's yeah, people are, mostly showing it's like the trend, like, yeah, we are happy, we are beautiful, but as a human being, we also have those bad days, right? So it's good to show people who are your followers that it's not always great and it's okay to have a bad days. So yeah. Mm,
Okay.
Also, you know, my mother is like inspiration for me because she didn't know about anything about LGBT plus community and she had like two coming outs of me being gay firstly that I thought about myself as a gay and then as a person who as a transgender person and she managed it and as I said like she didn't have like any tools so yeah she's super strong and yeah I think I'm also strong but she inspired me to be strong and believe in a better world.
Beautiful. Next question is, yeah,
Yeah.
what do you like to do for self-care?
I wish I will introduce you someone. His, his name is Tanchush. It's Teddy Bear, and
Uh-huh.
he's been with me since I had surgery in Serbia. So the last year, July. Yeah, so more than a year ago. And yeah, I love cuddling with him. Like he's great supporter and always I can count on him and he's not expecting, any sexual activity with me. So
Oh,
yeah, I feel safe. I love dancing, so this is giving me relief. Also, since few years, I'm going for a session of massages.
Yeah.
So receiving massage and it's also, helping me to relieve the bad things, and also I've changed the people who are doing it. So yeah, it gave me different type of touch. And for example, when I'm meeting my massager, his name is Rafał, he's always giving me hugs. So hugs from Tenchush are great, but I feel like as a human being, we also need the hugs from people. So if I can put one more wish for our community, so my wish it
Hmm.
will be non-sexual, consensual hugs.
Awesome. I love that. Love that. I am a part of community called SCA Kinship. And one year we were just sort of going around, like, what do you like about the community? And they're like, authenticity, fun, jokes. And then someone was like, the hugs.
Yeah,
Because when you're in a safe space and community where
yeah,
people give you a hug and it's not just because, but like you can feel the love in there, you can feel that connection.
yeah,
It's a very beautiful thing. So
yeah.
thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So it's December now. So we're right in the middle of the holiday season here in the US because we just had Thanksgiving a couple weeks ago and then Christmas
Yeah.
and New Year's. Do you have any traditions that you do around in this season or
Mm.
something you're really looking forward to doing in the next few weeks or month?
I have new traditions since I think it would be third year that I'm spending Christmas alone. I mean, like, I'm not celebrating Christmas, but like, I'm saying, like, for people who are celebrating it's Christmas, I really like the fact that I can manage the time as I want. I was thinking, and still I'm considering spending time with some friends in Berlin, but I will see because, people could go somewhere. Like, yeah, people don't like to stay in December in Berlin. But yeah, I also was considering somehow to meet with people from the community, maybe one evening, maybe do something like, for 10 people, invite people from the community, like, according to the term chosen family, to do something and share those moments together. But I will see because, as I said, I like the fact that, when everyone is saying, like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed with my family, I'm deciding that I will spend alone because I'm only have contact with my mother. So I'm not going to, to my family. I'm like to my biological family. I'm not going there anymore. So yeah, I feel like it's good to have time. I would try also reflect more because yeah, the year was like very intense and I want to recharge my batteries. So yeah, I will focus on myself.
Sounds good. That's something I'm still learning myself to do.
I'm learning
I
also,
think,
no worries.
yeah,
It's never ending
yeah. Like,
story.
I'm a little jealous of that. Part of me would love to not go to family in New York, but
Mm.
sometimes it's like there's a lot
Bring
of
me
nieces
to
and
New York. I can be a plus one.
I mean it's easy. I'm in DC, so I could take a bus for like $20
Uh,
or a train for like
20?
100. Yeah, but
20
it's
hours?
$20.
What is the
So
words?
like dollars, like twenty.
Dollars. I
Yeah.
felt like 20 hours. I was going from
Uh,
Poland by bus 8 hours to Berlin and I said like never again. And I thought you said like, oh, 20 hours. What that? Yeah, 20 hours. Okay. I'm going 20 hours.
Yeah, if it was 20 hours, I would one, I would have to fly, and two,
Yeah.
I would not be as interested in going. But I go just because there's a lot of nieces and nephews, so
Mm.
every year they
Yeah.
grow so fast.
Yeah.
But okay, but that it sounds good to have time alone. And I have a couple questions left. These are going to be quick ones,
Yeah.
and we'll be done in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so one, do you have a favorite joke or something you laughed at recently?
No, I think I'm boring when we talk about jokes, so sorry, I don't have anything to share.
Okay, cool. Check.
Yeah.
Is there a queer person who inspires you?
Mm. Yeah, I think there are, yeah, a lot. So I think like in professional settings, I do really
Mhm,
admire work of Peeps Bans. It's a person from the UK and they are non-binary. And I really like the fact they are in a banking area, which is like quite conservative, say straightforward.
mhm,
And they are showing, people can tell from the outside that they are cross-dressers. So I really admire determination, and can only imagine how hard it was on the beginning for them, but also they are very friendly, they're very helpful. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to meet them in a person because we had a lot of interaction, but only online. So this is one of the person. And also I would say I'm following a few trans female who are inspiring me. And I think Nikki Tutorial, it's one of the people, and she's doing makeup and she has fiance and showing also that story about them. It's inspiring for me and also very important, as I said, to believe it's possible to be in the relationship. Yeah.
perfect. And now, so final question. You look back at your journey in your life. Do you have one piece of advice or words of wisdom that helps you keep moving forward?
I have two.
Awesome. You can share them both.
So the first, and I feel probably the most important is, and also it's hard to say straightforward, but it's worth for sure. Listen to yourself, to your body, because yeah, this is, yeah, trust yourself. And the second is never, never, never give up. Never.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This was longer than I anticipated, and we are in there. And I'm
Yeah,
glad your teddy bear there giving you some extra support.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing vulnerably and going in many directions about your life story.
yeah.
I am happy to have had this conversation, and
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing what's next for you, especially as he knows, maybe I'll see you in New York next year when you're there. Um,
yeah. Thank you.
it'll
Yeah, Justin, thank you very much for, the invitation and your questions. So it's been really privilege and also inspiration for me to talk with you because maybe last thing what I want to share as a person for whom English is not the first language, for many years I had that assumption and I worked on it that I will not be able to communicate in English since the last November. So I think like more than a year, I'm having English tutor. Of course, I've learned English the whole my life, like having English at school. But I hope it could be inspiration that sometimes for some people some things it could be a blocker, but if you really want to do it, if you will work on it, It's showing like I can talk with people from English speaking country and people can understand me. So whatever for you, it could be a blocker. It's just a work on it. And if you will be determined, if you will be passionate about it, you can do it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Queer Changemakers. This is Justin, and I hope you are able to get some inspiration and maybe some ideas about how you can take action to create positive change in your life, communities, and beyond. See you next time.